Well, good morning, Mick Carmody from Australia. Wow, it's great to catch up with you after several years. I think the last time we caught up via Zoom call was in 2018. But you know what? I'm getting ahead of myself because for the sake of this recording, I want you to tell us what city are you in? You can tell us your name, your city, and then we'll move on from there, Mick.
Okay, my name is Mick Carmody. I live in Brisbane, Australia. I now reside in an aged care facility, which is a beautiful place right on the bay near Brisbane.
And I'm going to ask you more about that because I don't want us to get too ahead of ourselves. Mick, thank you.
Sorry.
Let
Yes.
us, for the record, do you grant permission for us to record and post this online?
I do, Brenda, yes.
Thank you, Mick. And for our viewers, including caregivers for people with dementia and people with dementia, such as yourself, what kind of dementia were you diagnosed with initially and at what age, Mick?
I was diagnosed with frontotemporal lobe dementia. I was 57 years of age. I'm now 66.
And Mick, when you were 57, even before then, they thought it was epilepsy, did they not?
There was a neurologist who believed that it was epilepsy, and she did all sorts of tests and then found out that it wasn't, which I knew anyway.
Because you had been reading up on FTD, frontal temporal lobe dementia.
And shortly after that, I went to a geriatrician and I had all the tests available, and he diagnosed me with FTD.
And you know, Mick, we had featured you 5 years ago this month in the title. I'm going to share screen here so people can see this. Share. So we had featured you here 5 years ago here on the 23rd of March in 2017. And we had talked about your misdiagnosis. Here you are with your family, your wife behind you, your children and their spouses, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, and here you are with your wife.
Mm-hmm.
And you at this time, the reason why we titled this Mick Carmody's Selfless Service Spanning the Globe is because at this time you were actively working with Dementia Alliance International, and you were doing of your own volunteering round the clock chats with people all around the world. So you'd get up in the middle of the night if you had to meet with people around the world and help people with dementia, comfort them, help them grow in awareness, and maybe even help them advocate. And for all of this and the work that you've done, being recognized, speaking at conferences, etc., you were recognized as the first awardee of the Dementia Alliance International Richard Taylor Advocates Award. Now I'm going to stop sharing screen here so we can get back to us. Yes, and that was 5 years ago. And today, when you were saying in the beginning that you were living in a care home, are you by yourself or is your wife still at home? What's the situation there?
My wife lives with me also. She's quite ill herself. She's had a triple bypass. She has lung disease, and yeah, she's with me also. Yeah, so we're both together. fortunately.
So are you able to share living quarters together, or how is that working?
We have 2 rooms next door to one another. One is our sleeping quarters, and where I am now is our living room, if you like, where we spend all day here with chairs, and I've got this desk here for my office, and yeah, this is our living room.
All right, so I'm talking to you in your living room. So she is with you now. Your children, how far away are they from you in Brisbane?
About 90 kilometres south.
Kilometers to miles. I got to do that math. Okay, I'll have to figure that out because I want to continue with this interview. How many years have you guys been living in this care home?
2 years.
2. And it's been about 10 or 11 years since you were diagnosed with dementia. And so I want to ask you, how is life treating you these days at this time?
Okay, 6 months ago, my dementia was at its worst. I had an increase in drop seizures. I used to shake violently, then I'd drop on my knee and on my left shoulder every time. I'd have anything up to 50 of those a day. Then I went from there to vacant seizures, where I would just lose capacity to use my limbs. I couldn't move. I couldn't talk.
Mick, this happened to you also about 5 years ago. I'm going to share my screen because we did talk about, here you were, where we're covering here, dementia, where are they now? And here you have a headscarf, but at the time when we did this interview, by the way, let me just point here, it says 27 December 2018, so about a little less than 4 years ago. Living with Dementia update, and here you are wearing a helmet because you would fall, and to protect yourself. So here we are featuring this. I'll stop sharing this and return. So you had this again. So it seems like this is happening to you periodically, where, this comes in waves, if it's been happening to you again 6 months ago. And did you have to wear the headgear again?
No, I'm now in a electric wheelchair because I have a habit of falling over backwards and landing on my head.
And
so,
despite your condition, you're still doing things, Mick. You're being creative. You're doing some major artwork, which just surprises me here. I want to expand on this to show, because I'd like you to talk about this a little bit for our viewers here. Let me hit share screen one more time, as awkward as this is getting, but here we go. Please talk about this.
Well, this is a project that I took on. I tend to take on projects that are very hard, because I've got to use a lot of concentration. And this one is done with pyrography, it's called, where you actually burn, all that is burnt into the wood. It's all done by hand with a hot nib of a pen. And I thought I'm going to do this because it's really, really hard. I don't care how long it takes me. And yes, it was very, very hard. And I could only do 10 or 15 minutes at a time before I couldn't concentrate anymore. And it didn't worry me. And that took a total of round about between 50 and 60 hours to do. And everyone can see the result. I'm very, very happy with it. And it's the hardest thing I've ever done.
And something you should be very proud of, given the health that you're battling.
Yeah.
It's to be able to do that. And I appreciate you for sharing that with us. What have you, so what do you do like now? What are you doing?
In the last 6 months, my dementia, as I said, was getting worse. And I started doing a bit of an increase in the woodwork. I started getting more into my woodwork. And then the maintenance officer here said to me one day, "Can you give me a hand?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to give you a hand." And it's gone on from there to me working 25, 30 hours a week with him. And now I'm talking to you like I am, and people don't believe that I have dementia. Because I'm talking to you as I am now. But if I hadn't have done that, if I hadn't have got off my rear end and made the move to do it, if I hadn't made the choice, then my dementia would be really, really, really bad.
And I'm glad that we're still in contact for the benefit of I'm going to close this off because I know you need to go get breakfast soon. So I'm going to stop our recording, but
I'll just say one thing, please.
You needed to say one more thing?
Just one little thing. It's a classic example of people who sit down and say, "Oh, poor me, I can't do this, I can't do that." You can do whatever you choose to do. If it's too hard, have a go at it. The worst you can do is fail.
Yes. And with that wonderful advice, I'm going to share one more time and share with our viewers this logo for the Caregiver's Voice. And Mick, I really thank you for talking with us this morning. Your time afternoon here in California as you enter springtime or fall and we enter springtime. Thank you. It's a pleasure. I will stop recording now.
Always a pleasure, Brenda, talking to you.